The Marshmallow Test by Walter Mischel. Brief summary. The Marshmallow Test examines the concept of self-control and its impact on individuals throughout their lives. It explores how the ability to delay gratification, as measured in the famous Marshmallow Test, is linked to a range of outcomes, including academic achievement, social functioning, health, and well-being. The text delves into the interplay between different brain systems, the role of self-perception and optimism, and the importance of environmental factors in shaping self-control. It emphasizes that self-control is not a fixed trait but a skill that can be learned, enhanced, and strategically applied across different situations. Ultimately, the source offers insights into the nature of human nature and how we can navigate the interplay between our impulses and our goals to create a fulfilling and meaningful life. Introduction. Mischel explores the significance and complexities of self-control, setting the stage for a deeper examination in the subsequent chapters. The ability to delay gratification, a key aspect of self-control, is presented as a learnable cognitive skill that profoundly impacts an individual's well-being and health throughout their life. While the concept of willpower has been a persistent challenge throughout history, often viewed as an unchangeable trait, the book emphasizes its modifiability through specific cognitive strategies. The Marshmallow Test, a famous experiment where children are given the choice between an immediate reward, 1 marshmallow, and a delayed but larger reward, 2 marshmallows, has gained significant public attention. Its implications extend to various domains, including child-rearing, education, financial planning, and understanding human behavior. The book acknowledges that self-control failures are common, even among intelligent and successful individuals. It raises the question of why smart people sometimes make seemingly irrational decisions. The author aims to engage the reader in a conversational exploration of self-control, drawing connections to everyday life experiences and challenges, ranging from child-rearing and personal dilemmas to understanding our vulnerabilities and strengths. The introduction highlights the tension between immediate gratification and delayed outcomes, using examples such as students smoking cigarettes despite warnings and individuals struggling to maintain New Year's resolutions. Collins. Drawing on evolutionary perspectives, the book introduces the concept of hot and cool systems in the brain. The hot system, associated with the limbic system, drives quick emotional reactions and desires for immediate pleasure, while the cool system, associated with the prefrontal cortex, enables rational decision-making and future planning. The introduction also touches upon the influence of parenting styles on a child's self-control strategies and attachment development. Collins. It uses the example of an over-controlling mother from Philip Roth's novel Portnoy's Complaint to illustrate how such parenting can impact a child's ability to resist temptations. The book then explores the interplay between genetics and environment and shaping self-control, acknowledging the inherent physiological differences in emotional reactivity and self-regulation present from birth. It emphasizes that genetics and environment interact to activate or suppress genetic predispositions for risk or resilience. The introduction concludes by highlighting the adaptive value of both hot and cool systems, acknowledging that the balance between them is crucial for navigating life's challenges effectively. Collins. It emphasizes the potential for individuals to exert control and influence their own lives through the development and utilization of their cool system. The introduction of the Marshmallow Test provides a foundation for the subsequent chapters by introducing key concepts, outlining the book's aims, and highlighting the importance of understanding the factors that contribute to self-control. Collins. It sets the stage for a comprehensive exploration of the mechanisms, implications, and strategies for mastering self-control. Part 1. Delayability, Enabling Self-Control. Chapter 1. In Stanford University's Surprise Room. Mischel recounts the origins of the now famous experiment. Set in the 1960s at Stanford University's Bing Nursery School, the chapter describes the genesis of the Marshmallow Test in the surprise room. Walter Mischel, the author, and his students embarked on a journey to understand how preschoolers develop the capacity for self-restraint. The central problem they sought to unravel was how children could resist the immediate allure of a smaller reward in favor of waiting for a larger one. This exploration stemmed from a broader observation about the struggles humans face when immediate gratification clashes with the pursuit of delayed outcomes. The researchers were fascinated by the tension between knowing the right course of action and the difficulty of actually following through, especially when faced with tempting distractions. Everyday examples abound, such as New Year's resolutions that crumble under the weight of old habits or the allure of dessert derailing carefully constructed dietary plans. The surprise room became the stage for meticulously crafted experiments designed to test preschoolers' self-control. Through trial and error, the researchers refined the procedure, seeking the optimal balance of temptation and reward to create a compelling dilemma for the children. They discovered that while young children struggled to grasp specific time intervals, the relative size of the rewards significantly influenced their choices. This led to the selection of treats that would present a genuine conflict for the children, a single, immediately available reward versus a more desirable but delayed option. Within this controlled environment, the researchers observed a fascinating interplay between the children's mental strategies and their ability to delay gratification. They noted that the way children thought about the tempting treats profoundly impacted their capacity to resist them. This realization opened a window into the cognitive processes underlying self-control, revealing the surprising effectiveness of seemingly simple mental maneuvers. The implications of the findings extended beyond the confines of the surprise room. As the researchers continued to follow the children's progress over the years, they uncovered a correlation between performance on the Marshmallow Test and various life outcomes, including academic achievement, social competence, and even physical health. The stability and significance of these correlations across different populations and time periods underscored the importance of understanding and nurturing the skills that enabled self-control. However, the researchers also recognized the need for caution in interpreting these correlations. The findings, while statistically significant for groups, did not imply that a child's inability to delay gratification on a single test predicted a predetermined future. The emphasis remained on understanding the underlying cognitive mechanisms and identifying strategies that could enhance self-control in children and adults alike. Here are 5 examples of how the insights from the surprise room can be applied in various situations. 1. A young child struggling to share a toy with a sibling could be encouraged to imagine the toy as something else, like a rock or a cloud, thus reducing its immediate desirability and facilitating sharing. 2. A teenager tempted to skip studying for an upcoming test could be reminded of their long-term goals, such as getting into their dream college, to strengthen their motivation to resist immediate gratification. 3. A stressed-out adult overwhelmed by a looming deadline could practice relaxation techniques or engage in a brief, enjoyable activity to cool down their hot system and regain focus. 4. A eater faced with the temptation of a delicious dessert could mentally reappraise the treat, focusing on its unhealthy aspects rather than its appealing taste, to reduce its allure. 5. A smoker trying to quit could replace the act of smoking with a healthier alternative, such as chewing gum or taking a walk, to break the automatic association between craving and behavior. The surprise room, through the simple yet profound Marshmallow Test, provided foundational insights into the nature of self-control. The research highlighted the importance of cognitive strategies in managing impulses, demonstrating that the ability to delay gratification is not a fixed trait but a skill that can be learned and cultivated. These findings continue to inform interventions aimed at fostering self-control in children and adults, offering hope for a future where individuals are better equipped to navigate the challenges of temptation and pursue their long-term goals. Chapter 2. How they do it. Resisting temptation, how preschoolers pass the Marshmallow Test. Mischel explores the various strategies preschoolers use to successfully delay gratification during the Marshmallow Test. The chapter begins by referencing Sigmund Freud's assertion that the ability to resist temptation stems from creating a hallucinatory image of the desired object. Mischel then introduces the idea of time binding, a concept developed by psychoanalyst David Rappaport, which suggests that humans possess the unique ability to bridge the gap between the present and the future. This capacity allows us to anticipate future consequences and make decisions based on them, rather than solely reacting to immediate desires. The rest of the chapter focuses on how preschoolers use these concepts to successfully resist the single marshmallow and wait for the 2 marshmallows. The children who succeeded in waiting longer engaged several tactics. 1. Ignoring the temptation. Some children simply avoided looking at the treats. They would cover their eyes with their hands or turn their backs to the table. 2. Distraction. To keep their minds off the marshmallow, some children sang, played games with their hands and feet, or told themselves stories. 3. Cognitive reappraisal. The children were incredibly creative in changing how they thought about the marshmallow, transforming the hot features of the treat into cool and abstract representations. For instance, they imagined the marshmallow as a cloud, a cotton ball, or a picture. Interestingly, the study also found that children's delay ability was influenced by whether the reward was visible. When the rewards were hidden, children could wait much longer. This suggests that simply removing the temptation from sight can significantly enhance self-control. Here are 5 examples of how these strategies might be applied in real-life situations. 1. A student studying for an exam might ignore the temptation to check social media by turning off notifications and putting their phone in another room. 2. A eater trying to avoid unhealthy snacks could distract themselves by engaging in a hobby, going for a walk, or calling a friend. 3. Someone struggling with anger management could cognitively reappraise a frustrating situation by trying to see it from the other person's perspective. 4. A person trying to quit smoking might hide cigarettes and lighters to make it harder to give in to cravings. 5. Someone saving money for a down payment on a house could put a picture of their dream home on their refrigerator as a visual reminder of their long-term goal. These examples demonstrate how the strategies employed by preschoolers in the Marshmallow Test can be adapted to address various self-control challenges in everyday life. The core principle remains the same. By reducing the allure of immediate temptations and increasing the salience of future rewards, individuals can enhance their ability to delay gratification and make choices that align with their long-term goals. Chapter 3. Thinking hot and cool. Understanding the hot and cool systems of the brain. Mischel explores the intricate interplay between 2 fundamental systems within the brain, the hot system and the cool system. These systems constantly interact, shaping our responses to temptations, stress, and everyday challenges. The chapter begins by highlighting the problem: how do we effectively manage our impulsive, emotional reactions, especially when we need to make thoughtful, strategic decisions? The hot system, driven by the limbic system, is characterized as emotional, reflexive, and unconscious. It operates rapidly, generating automatic self-protective reactions in milliseconds. While crucial for survival in the face of immediate threats, as evidenced by our evolutionary ancestors' need to quickly react to predators, this system's dominance can be detrimental in situations that require planning, reflection, and rational decision-making. Stress further exacerbates this problem by amplifying the hot system's activity. The cool system, primarily centered in the prefrontal cortex, PFC, offers a contrasting approach. It's cognitive, complex, reflective, and slower to activate. This system is vital for making future-oriented decisions and exercising self-control, as demonstrated by the successful delayers in the Marshmallow Test. However, the cool system develops gradually, reaching full maturity only in early adulthood. This leaves young children and adolescents particularly vulnerable to the sway of the hot system. The chapter emphasizes that these 2 systems are not independent entities but continuously interact in a reciprocal relationship. As one system becomes more active, the other becomes less so. The challenge lies in recognizing when to allow the hot system to guide our actions and when to engage the cool system for more deliberate responses. The key to successful self-control lies in understanding how to cool down the hot system and activate the cool system when needed. This involves strategically shifting our focus and cognitive appraisals. Mischel described various techniques that leverage this principle. 1. Think cool focus. By focusing on the abstract, cognitive, informational aspects of a stimulus, we can think cool about it rather than just react impulsively. For example, instead of dwelling on the taste and chewiness of a marshmallow, picturing it as a round, white, puffy cloud helps detach from its tempting qualities. 2. Think hot distraction. Engaging the hot system with thoughts about similar but unavailable rewards can surprisingly aid in resisting the present temptation. For instance, Thinking about pretzels while waiting for marshmallows can effectively distract a child and enable them to delay gratification. 3. Psychological distance. Imagining the temptation as far away in time or space or considering it from someone else's perspective activates the cool system, making it easier to resist. Envisioning how a wise person would act can provide the necessary distance to make a more rational choice. 4. Stress management. Recognizing that high stress amplifies the hot system and hinders the cool system underscores the importance of stress reduction techniques in promoting self-control. Managing stress through mindfulness, exercise, or other healthy coping mechanisms can help create the mental space needed for reasoned responses. 5. If-then implementation plans. Forming specific plans that link anticipated triggers, if, to desired behaviors, then, can automate self-control, making it less reliant on willpower and more reflexive. This involves rehearsing the desired response to a specific cue, so it becomes an automatic reaction, like the children practicing their responses to Mr. Clownbox in Chapter 5. Here are 5 examples of how these principles can be applied to everyday scenarios. 1. Resisting junk food. When craving chips, focus on their nutritional information, calories, fat content, rather than their taste. Imagine the chips as small, greasy squares instead of visualizing their crunchy texture. Form an if-then plan. If I crave chips after work, I will eat a piece of fruit instead. 2. Controlling anger. When feeling angry in traffic, take deep breaths and count to 10. Imagine observing the situation from a detached perspective, like a traffic camera recording the scene. Practice an if-then plan. If I get cut off in traffic, I will take a deep breath and focus on my destination. 3. Managing procrastination. When tempted to procrastinate on a work project, visualize the satisfaction of completing it and the potential negative consequences of delaying it. Imagine yourself confidently presenting the finished project. Use an if-then plan. If I feel like procrastinating, I will set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work. 4. Overcoming social anxiety. When feeling anxious in a social situation, focus on listening attentively to others and engaging in meaningful conversations. Imagine yourself confidently navigating the social interaction. Develop an if-then plan. If I feel anxious at a party, I will start a conversation with someone new. 5. Sticking to a budget. When tempted to buy something you don't need, consider its long-term financial impact. Imagine your future self thanking you for saving money. Implement an if-then plan. If I'm tempted to buy something impulsively, I will wait 24 hours before deciding. By understanding the dynamics of the hot and cool systems and consciously applying these strategies, we can empower ourselves to make better choices, regulate our emotions effectively, and navigate the inevitable temptations and stresses of life with greater awareness and self-control. Chapter 4. The Roots of Self-Control. Nurturing the Seedlings, Examining the Early Influences on Self-Control. Mischel explores the foundational years of self-control development. The problem the chapter addresses is understanding how the seeds of self-control are sown in early childhood. This investigation extends beyond the cognitive strategies explored in earlier chapters to consider the interplay of genetics, environment, and parental influence in shaping a child's capacity for self-regulation. The chapter emphasizes that while some aspects of self-control may be influenced by genetics, a child's environment and early experiences play a crucial role in shaping the trajectory of their self-control development. One key focus of the chapter is the critical role of early attachment experiences in shaping a child's developing sense of security and self-regulation. Children who form secure attachments with their caregivers are more likely to develop a sense of trust and confidence, which in turn supports the development of self-control. This is because secure attachments provide a foundation of emotional stability that allows children to explore their environment and learn to regulate their emotions effectively. Mischel highlight the significance of parental sensitivity and responsiveness in fostering this secure attachment. However, children who experience inconsistent or insensitive caregiving may develop insecure attachments, which can hinder the development of self-control. Such children may struggle to regulate their emotions, leading to difficulties in delaying gratification and resisting temptations. The chapter draws upon Philip Roth's novel, Portnoy's complaint, to illustrate the negative impact of over-controlling parenting on a child's self-control development. The protagonist's mother, despite her good intentions, stifles his autonomy with her constant inspection and correction, ultimately undermining his ability to develop a sense of self-efficacy and self-regulation. Beyond attachment, the chapter examines how parents and caregivers can actively promote self-control in their children. Mischel emphasized the importance of creating a low-stress environment for children, particularly during the early years. Chronic stress can negatively impact the development of the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive functions like self-control. The chapter suggests several practical strategies that parents and caregivers can employ to support their children's self-control development. 1. Distraction. Redirecting a child's attention away from a frustrating or tempting situation can help them regulate their emotions and avoid impulsive reactions. 2. Modeling. Children learn by observing the behavior of those around them. Parents who demonstrate self-control in their own lives provide a powerful example for their children to emulate. 3. Teaching self-talk. Encouraging children to verbalize their feelings and strategies for coping with challenges can help them develop greater awareness of their emotional states and improve their self-regulation skills. 4. Creating opportunities for practice. Providing children with age-appropriate opportunities to practice self-control, such as waiting their turn in games or resisting the urge to interrupt, helps them strengthen these skills over time. The chapter concludes by highlighting the concept of self-control as a dynamic process, subject to change and development throughout the lifespan. Mischel note that while children who demonstrate good self-control in preschool often continue on this trajectory, some may experience declines in self-control over time, while others who initially struggle with self-control may show improvements as they mature. This underscores the importance of understanding the factors that influence self-control development and providing ongoing support to help individuals cultivate and maintain these vital skills. Here are 5 examples of how the principles discussed in Chapter 4 can be applied in real-life situations. 1. A toddler having a tantrum because they can't have a cookie. A parent could distract the child by engaging them in a different activity, such as reading a book or playing with a toy. 2. A preschooler struggling to wait their turn in a game. A caregiver could model patience by demonstrating how to wait calmly and encourage the child to practice self-talk, such as saying, "It will be my turn soon. I can wait." 3. An elementary school student struggling to focus on homework due to distractions. A parent could help the child create a designated study space free from distractions and establish a consistent homework routine. 4. A teenager tempted to engage in risky behavior with peers. A parent could have open conversations with the teenager about the potential consequences of their choices and encourage them to consider the impact of their actions on themselves and others. 5. An adult struggling with procrastination. They could break down tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, set realistic deadlines, and utilize time management techniques, such as the Pomodoro technique, to improve their focus and productivity. By understanding the roots of self-control, we can create nurturing environments that foster the development of this essential skill. The chapter emphasizes that early interventions focused on promoting secure attachment, reducing stress, and providing opportunities for practice can have lasting positive impacts on individuals' self-control trajectories. These efforts not only empower children to navigate the challenges of temptation but also equip them with the tools to thrive in their personal, academic, and social lives. Chapter 5. The Best Laid Plans. Outsmarting Temptation, Harnessing the Power of If-Then Plans for Enhanced Self-Control. This chapter shifts the focus from the developmental origins of self-control, discussed in Chapter 4, to the strategic implementation of self-control techniques. The problem the chapter tackles is how to effectively resist temptation and maintain self-control even in challenging situations. Drawing inspiration from Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey, the chapter likens the allure of immediate gratification to the enchanting songs of the sirens, capable of luring individuals off course and towards disastrous outcomes. Just as Odysseus cleverly devised a plan to resist the siren's call, the chapter proposes if-then implementation plans as a powerful tool to navigate the treacherous waters of temptation. The chapter posits that traditional reliance on willpower often proves insufficient in the face of strong temptation, particularly when individuals are stressed or emotionally aroused. This is attributed to the interplay of the brain's hot and cool systems. The hot system, driven by the amygdala, is responsible for quick, automatic emotional responses, particularly in reaction to immediate rewards or threats. In contrast, the cool system, associated with the prefrontal cortex, is responsible for thoughtful, rational decision-making, considering long-term consequences. When faced with temptation, the hot system often overrides the cool system, leading to impulsive behavior. If-then implementation plans offer a strategic solution by preemptively programming the hot system to respond in a desired manner when triggered by a specific cue. These plans take the form of if, situation, then, action, statements. By repeatedly rehearsing these plans, the desired action becomes automatically initiated when the relevant situation arises. This essentially outsmarts the hot system by making the desired response the default reaction, thus reducing reliance on effortful willpower in the heat of the moment. Mischel highlight the remarkable effectiveness of if-then plans across a diverse range of self-control challenges, including 1. Academic performance. Students have successfully employed if-then plans to stay focused on their studies amidst distractions. For example, a student might form the plan: if I feel tempted to check social media while studying, then I will immediately close my laptop and take a 5-minute break to stretch and walk around. 2. Dietary control. Dieters have utilized these plans to resist cravings for unhealthy foods. A dieter might implement the plan: if I feel the urge to snack between meals, then I will drink a glass of water and eat a piece of fruit instead. 3. Attention regulation. Children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, have benefited from if-then plans to inhibit impulsive responses and enhance their ability to stay on task. For instance, a child might use the plan: if I feel like getting out of my seat during class, then I will take 3 deep breaths and raise my hand to ask the teacher a question. Mischel present the case study of Mr. Clownbox to illustrate the power of if-then plans in action. In this study, preschoolers tasked with completing a challenging puzzle were confronted with a tempting distraction: a toy box emitting alluring sounds and lights. Children who had preemptively rehearsed if-then plans, such as if Mr. Clownbox makes that BZZT sound, then I will just look at my work, not him, and say, "No, I can't, I'm working," were significantly more successful at resisting the temptation and persisting with the puzzle. Here are 5 additional examples of how if-then implementation plans can be applied in everyday life. 1. Overcoming procrastination. A writer struggling to start a project might create the plan: if it is 9 a.m. on Monday, then I will open my laptop and write the first paragraph of my essay. 2. Managing anger. An individual prone to angry outbursts might use the plan: if I feel my temper rising, then I will take 5 deep breaths and count to 10 before responding. 3. Improving sleep hygiene. A person having trouble falling asleep might implement the plan: if it is 10 p.m., then I will turn off all screens, dim the lights, and read a book in bed. 4. Sticking to an exercise routine. An individual struggling to maintain a consistent workout schedule might form the plan: if it is 6 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then I will put on my workout clothes and go for a run. 5. Reducing social media use. A person wanting to limit their time on social media might utilize the plan: if I open Facebook or Instagram, then I will set a timer for 15 minutes and close the app when the timer goes off. Chapter 5 underscores that the effectiveness of if-then plans lies in their simplicity and ability to make self-control more automatic. By preemptively identifying potential triggers and formulating specific action plans, individuals can effectively harness their hot system to work in service of their long-term goals, rather than succumbing to the allure of immediate gratification. This shift from relying solely on willpower to strategically pre-programming desired responses offers a powerful tool for enhancing self-control and achieving personal objectives. Chapter 6. Idle grasshoppers and busy ants. Balancing the now and the future, understanding the interplay of impulsivity and future orientation. Mischel shifts the conversation from the mechanics of self-control to the nature of the choices we make when faced with immediate gratification versus delayed rewards. The central question the chapter explores is why do some individuals consistently choose to delay gratification, while others favor immediate satisfaction, even when they understand the potential long-term benefits of waiting? This exploration draws upon Aesop's fable of the grasshopper and the ant to introduce the concept of individual differences in future orientation and the impact these differences have on decision-making. The chapter opens with the author's personal observation during his time living in Trinidad, where he witnessed a stark contrast in cultural perceptions of time and future planning between the island's African and East Indian communities. The East Indians were often characterized as diligent and future-oriented, prioritizing saving and planning for the future, while the Africans were perceived as more present-focused, enjoying the pleasures of the moment without much concern for long-term consequences. This dichotomy, reminiscent of Aesop's industrious ant and carefree grasshopper, sparked the author's curiosity about the factors underlying these contrasting approaches to time and gratification. Mischel challenged the notion that individuals neatly fall into one category or the other, always a grasshopper or always an ant. Instead, they proposed that human behavior is guided by a complex interplay of both impulsive and future-oriented tendencies, reflecting the interplay of the brain's hot and cool systems, as discussed in previous chapters. This interplay is further influenced by a combination of genetic predispositions, cultural norms, and personal experiences. The chapter references a study published in Science that used fMRI technology to examine brain activity during decision-making involving immediate versus delayed rewards. The study found that choices favoring immediate gratification were associated with heightened activity in the limbic system, a brain region associated with emotional processing and immediate rewards. In contrast, choices favoring delayed rewards were linked to increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive functions and planning. This research supports the idea that both the hot and cool systems are involved in these decisions, and the outcome depends on which system exerts greater influence. Mischel further acknowledged the impact of genetic factors on impulsivity and future orientation, drawing upon studies conducted with mice. Research has shown that different strains of mice exhibit varying levels of novelty-seeking and risk-taking behavior. However, the chapter emphasizes that genetic influences are not deterministic. Even genetically predisposed traits can be significantly modified by environmental factors, particularly early life experiences. For instance, genetically adventurous mice raised by cautious mothers exhibited more cautious behavior than their counterparts raised by similarly adventurous mothers. Mischel concludes by highlighting the importance of recognizing the dynamic and contextual nature of self-control. The key is not to eliminate impulsivity entirely, but to develop the ability to strategically regulate it in alignment with one's goals and values. Just as Aesop's ant diligently prepares for winter but also enjoys the warmth of summer, individuals can strive to find a balance between indulging in immediate pleasures and planning for future well-being. Here are 5 examples of how the concepts discussed in Chapter 6 can be applied in real-life situations. 1. Saving for retirement. An individual tempted to spend their bonus on a lavish vacation might consider the long-term benefits of investing the money for retirement, picturing their future self enjoying financial security in later years. 2. Making healthy lifestyle choices. A person craving fast food might weigh the immediate satisfaction of a greasy burger against the long-term health benefits of choosing a nutritious salad, visualizing their future self feeling energized and fit. 3. Managing time effectively. A student tempted to procrastinate on an important assignment might think about the potential consequences of failing to meet the deadline, imagining the stress and disappointment of receiving a poor grade. 4. Building strong relationships. An individual prone to impulsive anger might pause before reacting in a heated moment, considering the potential damage to their relationship and envisioning the long-term benefits of communicating calmly and respectfully. 5. Pursuing long-term goals. An aspiring entrepreneur working a demanding job might resist the urge to quit, remembering their ultimate goal of starting their own business and picturing their future self achieving success and fulfillment. Mischel ultimately emphasizes that understanding our individual tendencies towards impulsivity and future orientation can empower us to make more informed and strategic choices. By acknowledging the interplay of both the ant and the grasshopper within us, we can cultivate a balanced approach to life that allows us to savor the present while paving the way for a fulfilling future. Chapter 7. Is it pre-wired? The new genetics. Decoding destiny, the interplay of genetics and environment in shaping who we are. Mischel tackles a question that has captivated thinkers for centuries: to what extent are our traits, abilities, and behaviors determined by our genes versus our environment? The chapter uses the personal story of James Watson, the Nobel Prize-winning co-discoverer of the DNA structure, to frame this enduring debate. Watson, raised in an era rife with anti-Irish prejudice, worried about his Irish heritage potentially impacting his intellect. He eventually concluded that the perceived intellectual shortcomings of the Irish were likely a product of their environment, not their genes. This conclusion, while comforting, reflected the dominant scientific thinking of his time. However, the chapter argues that the traditional dichotomy of nature versus nurture is overly simplistic and outdated. Mischel presents a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between genetics and environment, highlighting the dynamic interplay between the two. Rather than viewing genes as a blueprint dictating our destiny, Mischel emphasized the concept of gene expression, where genes are selectively activated or silenced in response to environmental cues. Mischel challenged the notion of a blank slate upon which the environment simply writes its script. Instead, they propose that we are born with a complex set of genetic predispositions that provide a foundation for our development. These predispositions influence our temperament, our emotional reactivity, and our cognitive abilities, to name a few. However, the chapter emphasizes that genes do not operate in a vacuum. The environment, both physical and social, plays a crucial role in shaping how these predispositions are expressed and ultimately influence who we become. Mischel draws upon research with rodents to illustrate the powerful influence of early life experiences on gene expression. Studies have shown that mice genetically predisposed to be either shy or adventurous exhibit behavioral patterns aligned with their genetic makeup. However, when adventurous mice were raised by shy mothers, their behavior shifted to resemble that of shy mice. This suggests that even strong genetic predispositions can be significantly modified by environmental factors, particularly during critical developmental periods. Mischel further emphasized that the environment encompasses a broad range of influences, including 1. Parenting style. Authoritarian or neglectful parenting can have a detrimental impact on a child's self-control and emotional regulation, while a supportive and nurturing environment can foster resilience and positive development. 2. Exposure to stress. Chronic stress, particularly in early childhood, can alter brain development and negatively impact executive functions, making it more challenging for individuals to exert self-control and regulate their emotions. 3. Social and cultural norms. Cultural values and expectations surrounding time orientation, delayed gratification, and emotional expression can shape an individual's behavioral patterns and self-control strategies. 4. Educational opportunities. Access to high-quality education can enhance cognitive abilities, including executive function, leading to improvements in self-control and decision-making. Mischel advocated for a shift in focus from debating the relative importance of nature versus nurture to understanding how genes and environment interact to shape human development. The key question, the chapter posits, is not is it pre-wired, but rather what do genes actually do? What is the environment doing that changes what the genes do? The chapter concludes by suggesting that recognizing the interplay of genetics and environment can empower us to take a more proactive role in shaping our lives and the lives of our children. While we cannot change our genetic makeup, we can create environments that support positive development and maximize our potential. This perspective embraces a more hopeful and optimistic view of human nature, emphasizing our capacity for growth, adaptation, and change. Here are 5 examples of how this understanding of the interplay between genetics and environment can be applied in everyday life. 1. Supporting children with learning differences. A parent of a child with ADHD, rather than attributing their child's challenges solely to genetics, might seek out educational interventions and therapies that address the environmental factors contributing to their child's difficulties. 2. Creating a supportive home environment. Parents, recognizing the impact of early childhood experiences on brain development, might prioritize creating a stable, nurturing home environment that fosters their children's emotional regulation and self-control skills. 3. Addressing the impact of trauma. A therapist working with an individual struggling with anxiety or depression might explore the role of early life stress or traumatic experiences in shaping their client's current challenges and utilize therapeutic approaches that address both biological and environmental factors. 4. Promoting educational equity. Policymakers, acknowledging the powerful influence of education on cognitive development, might advocate for policies that ensure equal access to high-quality education for all children, regardless of their socioeconomic background. 5. Cultivating personal growth. An individual struggling with impulsivity, recognizing the influence of environmental factors on behavior, might seek out strategies and environments that support their efforts to develop better self-control and achieve their goals. Mischel ultimately underscores that understanding the dynamic interplay between our genes and our environment can empower us to make more informed choices and create a more fulfilling life. This perspective allows us to move beyond simplistic notions of predetermination and embrace the potential for growth, change, and resilience that lies within each of us. Part 2 from Marshmallow's INPREK 2 Money IN 401k. Chapter 8. The Engine of Success. I think I can. Beyond willpower, cultivating the I think I can mindset for success. Mischel explores the factors that contribute to success in life, moving beyond the simple ability to delay gratification. The chapter uses the story of George Ramirez, a young man who journeyed from poverty in the South Bronx to Yale University, to illustrate the importance of cognitive skills, beliefs, and a supportive environment in achieving long-term goals. The chapter acknowledges the importance of self-control, as demonstrated by the Marshmallow Test, but argues that self-control alone is not sufficient for success. Mischel posits that true success requires a multifaceted approach that includes strong executive function, a growth mindset, optimistic expectations for the future, and a nurturing environment that reinforces these qualities. The problem: navigating a complex world with limited resources. Mischel acknowledged that individuals face numerous challenges throughout life that require the ability to regulate impulses, manage emotions, and persevere in the face of setbacks. These challenges can range from resisting temptations and delaying gratification to overcoming difficult emotions, navigating complex social situations, and making sound decisions. The solution: building a foundation for success. The chapter suggests that individuals who thrive in the face of these challenges often possess several key attributes. 1. Executive function, EF. This refers to a set of cognitive skills that enable us to control our thoughts, impulses, actions, and emotions. These skills allow us to focus our attention, plan for the future, and resist distractions, enabling us to pursue and achieve our goals. 2. Growth mindset. This belief system, popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, emphasizes the malleability of intelligence and abilities. Individuals with a growth mindset believe that they can improve their skills and intelligence through effort and learning, leading to greater resilience in the face of challenges. 3. Optimism. This involves having favorable expectations about the future and believing that things will work out for the best. Mischel note that optimism is associated with better coping mechanisms for stress, improved health outcomes, and greater persistence in pursuing goals. The engine of success, the I think I can mindset. The chapter argues that the ability to combine strong EF with a growth mindset and optimistic outlook creates a powerful engine for success. This I think I can mindset empowers individuals to 1. Embrace challenges. Instead of viewing setbacks as evidence of their limitations, individuals with this mindset see them as opportunities for learning and growth. 2. Persevere in the face of adversity. They believe in their ability to overcome obstacles and remain motivated even when things get tough. 3. Maximize their potential. They are more likely to take on challenges, explore new opportunities, and strive for excellence. Nurturing the engine, the importance of environment. Mischel emphasized that these qualities are not fixed traits but rather can be cultivated and strengthened over time. They highlight the critical role of environment in shaping the development of EF, growth mindset, and optimism. Supportive environments that foster these qualities include 1. Nurturing and responsive parenting. Parents who provide consistent love and support while also setting clear expectations and boundaries help children develop strong EF and a sense of mastery. 2. Challenging and engaging learning opportunities. Environments that encourage curiosity, exploration, and problem-solving help children develop cognitive skills and a growth mindset. 3. Positive social connections. Supportive relationships with peers, mentors, and role models provide encouragement and reinforcement for positive behaviors. Applying the "I think I can" mindset. 5 examples. 1. Academic success. A student struggling with a challenging subject might adopt a growth mindset, believing that they can improve their understanding with effort and effective study strategies. They might seek help from teachers or tutors, practice regularly, and focus on their progress rather than dwelling on their mistakes. 2. Career advancement. An individual seeking a promotion might focus on developing their skills and expertise, taking on new responsibilities, and demonstrating a positive and proactive attitude. They might seek feedback from mentors and colleagues, learn from their experiences, and persevere in their efforts even when faced with setbacks. 3. Health and fitness goals. A person trying to lose weight or improve their fitness might set realistic goals, develop a sustainable plan, and focus on their progress rather than getting discouraged by setbacks. They might seek support from friends or family, celebrate their achievements, and remind themselves of the long-term benefits of their efforts. 4. Overcoming personal challenges. An individual facing a difficult life situation, such as a job loss or relationship breakdown, might adopt a growth mindset and focus on their strengths and resources. They might seek support from friends, family, or a therapist, develop coping strategies, and maintain a sense of hope and optimism about the future. 5. Parenting. Parents can foster the "I think I can" mindset in their children by praising their efforts and perseverance, providing opportunities for challenge and growth, and modeling a growth mindset and optimistic outlook themselves. Conclusion: embracing the power of belief. Mischel underscores the importance of not only developing self-control but also cultivating a positive belief system that fuels success. By nurturing a growth mindset, optimistic expectations, and strong EF, individuals can empower themselves to achieve their goals, navigate challenges, and live more fulfilling lives. Chapter 9. Your Future Self. Bridging the Gap, Connecting with Your Future Self. Mischel focuses on the challenge of connecting with our future selves, highlighting the difficulties in making decisions that prioritize long-term well-being over immediate gratification. The chapter explores the psychological and neurological factors that contribute to this disconnect and offers strategies for strengthening our relationship with our future selves. The problem: our myopic view of the future. Mischel argues that humans are naturally predisposed to focus on the present moment. Our hot emotional system prioritizes immediate rewards and threats, often leading to decisions that undermine our long-term goals and well-being. This tendency to discount future consequences stems from the way our brains represent the future self. Mischel cites studies showing that when people imagine their future selves, the brain activity patterns often resemble those observed when thinking about a stranger, suggesting a psychological and neurological disconnect between our present and future selves. This disconnect, termed psychological distance, is a major obstacle to making choices that benefit our future well-being. Mischel illustrates this problem with the analogy of Aesop's fable, where the ant diligently prepares for winter while the grasshopper indulges in the pleasures of summer. Similarly, humans often engage in risky behaviors, such as overeating, smoking, or neglecting financial planning, despite knowing the long-term consequences. This myopic view of the future leads to regret and compromised well-being when the consequences of our present actions materialize. The solution: closing the psychological distance. Mischel proposed several strategies for bridging the gap between our present and future selves, emphasizing the need to make the future more concrete, emotionally salient, and integrated into our current self-conception. 1. Visualization and vivid representations. Creating vivid and detailed mental images of our future selves can make them feel more real and emotionally connected. For example, using age-progressed avatars or imagining ourselves in specific future scenarios can increase our willingness to save for retirement. This technique, called pre-living, involves simulating future events in our minds as if they were happening in the present. By experiencing the consequences of our choices, we can make more informed decisions that align with our long-term goals. 2. Reducing psychological distance. Thinking about the future in concrete, specific terms can help reduce the abstractness that contributes to discounting future consequences. For example, instead of vaguely considering a future trip, imagine packing your bags, arriving at the airport, and engaging in specific activities. This shift in perspective can evoke more realistic emotions and insights, facilitating more informed decision-making. 3. If-then implementation plans. These plans create a mental link between a specific trigger situation and a desired response, making self-control more automatic and less reliant on willpower. For instance, instead of relying on willpower to resist tempting snacks, create a plan like, if I am offered a cookie at the office party, then I will politely decline and choose a piece of fruit. This pre-commitment strategy helps bypass the HOT system's impulsivity and promotes alignment with long-term goals. 4. Cultivating a growth mindset. A growth mindset, characterized by a belief in the malleability of abilities, promotes resilience and persistence in pursuing long-term goals. By focusing on learning and development, individuals with a growth mindset are more likely to embrace challenges and view setbacks as opportunities for growth, rather than evidence of limitations. This mindset supports the "I think I can" attitude, essential for achieving long-term aspirations. 5. Finding purpose and meaning. Having a strong sense of purpose and meaningful goals can provide powerful motivation for overcoming present temptations and investing in the future. By connecting our actions to a larger purpose, we can make sacrifices and delays more bearable. For example, someone passionate about environmental conservation might find it easier to make sustainable choices, knowing they contribute to a cause they value. Applying the principles, 5 examples. 1. Saving for retirement. Instead of viewing retirement as a distant and abstract concept, imagine yourself in your retirement years, engaging in activities you enjoy. Visualize the financial security and freedom that come with adequate savings, making the future more emotionally appealing and motivating present-day financial decisions. 2. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Instead of succumbing to the immediate pleasure of unhealthy foods, pre-live the potential consequences of those choices, such as feeling sluggish, experiencing health problems, or regretting neglecting your health. Focus on the long-term benefits of healthy habits, such as increased energy, disease prevention, and a longer, healthier life. 3. Investing in education. Instead of getting discouraged by the challenges of learning, embrace a growth mindset, believing that you can improve your skills and knowledge with effort and dedication. Visualize the career opportunities and personal fulfillment that come with educational attainment, fueling your motivation to persist despite difficulties. 4. Building meaningful relationships. Instead of prioritizing short-term flings, invest in building strong and fulfilling relationships that offer long-term companionship and support. Consider the emotional richness and stability that come with nurturing meaningful connections, making the effort and potential challenges more worthwhile. 5. Pursuing long-term goals. Whether it's writing a novel, starting a business, or learning a new skill, break down your goal into smaller, manageable steps and pre-live the process, imagining the challenges and rewards along the way. Visualize the satisfaction of achieving your goal, keeping the long-term vision in mind to sustain motivation and perseverance. Conclusion: embracing the future you. By applying the strategies outlined in Chapter 9, individuals can overcome the natural tendency to prioritize the present moment and make choices that benefit their future selves. By bridging the gap between our present and future selves, we can make more informed decisions, achieve our long-term goals, and live more fulfilling lives. Remember, the choices we make today shape the person we become tomorrow. By connecting with our future selves, we can invest in our well-being and create a future we can look forward to. Chapter 10. Beyond the Here and Now. Navigating Decisions, the Interplay of Time and Perspective. Mischel expands on the challenge of connecting with our future selves, examining how our perception of time and psychological distance influences our decision-making. Building upon the strategies discussed in Chapter 9, this chapter introduces the concept of psychological distance and explores how manipulating this distance can help us make more informed choices and resist temptations. The problem: shifting perspectives and regrettable decisions. The chapter highlights the inherent human struggle of reconciling present desires with long-term goals, particularly when the future feels distant and abstract. Mischel explained that our decision-making processes are often swayed by psychological distance, a concept encompassing not just temporal distance, now versus later, but also spatial distance, near versus far, social distance, self versus others, and certainty, definite versus hypothetical. Mischel illustrates this with the example of a researcher who readily accepted an invitation to give a lecture 3 years in the future at a far-off location. Initially, the decision felt reasonable, as the abstract, cool system thinking prevailed when considering the future event. However, as the lecture date approached, the psychological distance shrank, and the once appealing trip transformed into a dreaded obligation filled with concrete, emotionally charged details. This shift in perspective from abstract to concrete thinking often leads to regret when decisions made for a future event clash with present-day realities. Mischel suggests that this occurs because our emotional hot system takes over as the event becomes more imminent and vivid, overriding the more rational, long-term considerations that guided the initial decision. The solution: manipulating psychological distance for better choices. The chapter proposes that by strategically manipulating psychological distance, we can improve our decision-making and avoid regret. Mischel presents several techniques for achieving this. 1. Pre-living the future. To make sound decisions about future events, Mischel recommends pre-living the experience, vividly imagining it as if it were happening in the present. This involves simulating the event with rich details, considering the potential challenges and rewards, and experiencing the emotions associated with those possibilities. For example, someone contemplating a new job could spend time visualizing their daily routine in that role, considering the work environment, interactions with colleagues, and potential stressors. By living the experience in their mind, they gain a more realistic understanding of the job's implications, allowing for a more informed decision. 2. Cooling hot temptations. To resist immediate temptations, Mischel suggests employing strategies that increase psychological distance. Thinking about the temptation in abstract, cool terms or imagining it as being far away in space and time can activate the cool system and dampen the hot system's impulsivity. For instance, a eater struggling to resist a dessert could try mentally reframing the sugary treat as a collection of fat molecules or imagine it sitting uneaten on a distant shelf. This mental distancing helps to diminish the temptation's allure, making it easier to resist. 3. Heeding future rewards. Conversely, to increase our motivation for pursuing long-term goals, Mischel recommends heeding the future rewards by making them feel closer and more emotionally salient. This can involve vividly imagining the positive outcomes associated with achieving the goal or emphasizing the personal significance of the pursuit. For example, someone saving for a down payment on a house could create a vision board with images of their dream home or regularly imagine themselves enjoying the space, fostering a stronger emotional connection to the future reward. 4. Utilizing if-then implementation plans. As discussed in previous chapters, if-then plans can help automate self-control by linking specific triggers to desired responses. These plans can be particularly helpful when dealing with future-oriented decisions. For instance, someone aiming to save more money could implement a plan like, if I receive a bonus, then I will automatically transfer 50% of it to my savings account. This pre-commitment strategy removes the need for willpower in the moment, ensuring alignment with long-term financial goals. 5. Shifting time perspective. Mischel also highlights the power of shifting our time perspective to influence our responses to cravings. By consciously focusing on the long-term consequences of indulging a craving, we can make them feel more immediate and real, thereby diminishing their power. For example, a smoker attempting to quit could visualize the potential health problems associated with continued smoking, making the future consequences feel more present and compelling. Applying the principles, 5 examples. 1. Procrastination. Instead of focusing on the immediate discomfort of starting a challenging task, relive the negative consequences of delaying it, such as mounting stress, missed deadlines, and potential negative impacts on your reputation. Then, heat the future reward of completing the task, visualizing the relief and sense of accomplishment you will experience. 2. Impulse purchases. When faced with a tempting purchase, cool the immediate gratification by considering the item in abstract terms or imagining it as being far away. Consider its long-term value and potential financial consequences, and ask yourself if the purchase aligns with your long-term financial goals. 3. Unhealthy habits. To overcome unhealthy habits, such as overeating or smoking, heat the long-term consequences by vividly imagining the potential health problems associated with these behaviors. You can also cool the immediate gratification by mentally reframing the unhealthy choice or picturing it as undesirable. 4. Relationship conflicts. When feeling angry or hurt in a relationship, practice self-distancing by viewing the situation from a detached, observer perspective. This allows you to cool the emotional intensity and analyze the situation more objectively, promoting calmer and more constructive responses. 5. Financial planning. Instead of viewing retirement planning as a chore for your distant future self, connect with your future self by vividly imagining your retirement years, considering your desired lifestyle and financial needs. This can make the future feel more concrete and motivate present-day savings efforts. Conclusion: mastering time and perspective. Mischel offers valuable insights into how our perception of time and psychological distance can influence our decision-making. By understanding these principles and applying the suggested techniques, we can learn to make more informed choices, resist temptations, and achieve greater self-control. By mastering the interplay of time and perspective, we empower ourselves to create a future aligned with our long-term goals and aspirations. Chapter 11. Protecting the hurt self, self-distancing. Finding solace and clarity, the power of self-distancing. Mischel explores the challenges of coping with painful emotions and offers strategies for navigating the complexities of heartbreak, rejection, and other emotionally charged experiences. This chapter builds upon the themes of cooling the hot system and activating the cool system discussed throughout the book, emphasizing the importance of psychological distancing and cognitive reappraisal in regulating emotional responses. The problem, rumination's grip and the persistence of pain. The chapter centers on the common human experience of struggling to overcome painful emotions, particularly when the hurt originates from personal relationships. Mischel describes a case study involving Maria, who, after a 19-year relationship, was abruptly abandoned by her partner Sam. Maria found herself trapped in a cycle of rumination, constantly replaying their last weekend together and unable to let go of the pain. Mischel explained that Western cultural beliefs and many traditional psychotherapies encourage individuals to confront their painful feelings head-on, believing that this will lead to insight and eventual healing. This approach often involves repeatedly asking oneself why questions in an attempt to understand the reasons behind the emotional turmoil. However, research has shown that while this self-immersed introspection may be helpful for some, it can actually exacerbate distress for others. Mischel cites the work of psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema, whose research revealed that for many individuals, dwelling on negative experiences in a self-immersed manner only serves to reactivate the emotional pain, intensifying anger, reopening wounds, and ultimately deepening depression. This endless cycle of rumination hinders recovery and prolongs the grip of negative emotions. The solution: embracing self-distancing and reappraisal. Drawing inspiration from the Marshmallow studies, in which children successfully delayed gratification by increasing their physical distance from the tempting treat, the chapter introduces the concept of self-distancing as a powerful tool for emotional regulation. Mischel proposed that by creating psychological distance from a painful experience, individuals can effectively cool their hot system, allowing the cool system to take over and facilitate a more adaptive response. This self-distancing can be achieved through several techniques. 1. Adopting a fly-on-the-wall perspective. Mischel suggests visualizing the painful experience from a detached, observer perspective, as if watching it unfold as a neutral bystander. This shift in perspective, akin to watching a scene in a movie, helps to lessen the emotional intensity and allows for a more objective analysis of the situation. 2. Focusing on why from a distance. Instead of dwelling on the emotional turmoil in a self-immersed way, Mischel recommend reframing the why questions from a distanced perspective. This involves analyzing the situation as an observer, seeking to understand the reasons behind one's reactions without getting caught up in the emotional storm. This distanced reflection promotes insight and understanding without reactivating the initial hurt. 3. Reappraising the event. Self-distancing allows for cognitive reappraisal, a process of reinterpreting the experience in a more constructive light. This involves exploring alternative explanations for the event, considering situational factors that may have contributed to the outcome, and focusing on potential growth opportunities that can emerge from the experience. 4. Writing about the experience. Expressing one's feelings and thoughts about the painful event in writing can facilitate self-distancing and promote emotional processing. Writing allows for a structured and reflective exploration of the experience, helping to organize thoughts and gain clarity without becoming overwhelmed by the emotional intensity. 5. Seeking guidance from cognitive behavior therapy. Cognitive behavior therapists recognize the value of self-distancing as a foundation for therapeutic change. They work with clients to help them recognize that their beliefs and perceptions are subjective interpretations of reality, not absolute truths. Clients learn to step back from their immediate feelings and observe themselves from a distance, enabling them to explore alternative ways of thinking and reacting that are more productive and less distressing. Applying self-distancing, 5 examples. 1. Relationship breakup. Imagine observing the breakup as an outsider, considering both your own actions and your partner's behavior from a neutral standpoint. This can help you gain a more balanced perspective on the relationship dynamics and identify areas for personal growth. 2. Rejection from a job application. Instead of dwelling on feelings of inadequacy, view the rejection as an observer, recognizing that hiring decisions are often influenced by a multitude of factors beyond your control. Focus on the skills and experiences you gained during the application process and explore alternative career paths that align with your strengths. 3. Conflict with a family member. When feeling angry or hurt, practice self-distancing by writing about the conflict in a journal. This allows you to express your emotions without escalating the situation, and it can help you identify patterns of interaction and potential solutions for resolving the conflict. 4. Social anxiety. Before a social event, mentally rehearse the situation from a fly-on-the-wall perspective. Imagine observing yourself interacting with others in a calm and confident manner. This mental distancing can help reduce anticipatory anxiety and promote a more positive self-image. 5. Public speaking fear. Visualize yourself giving the presentation from an observer's viewpoint, noticing your calm demeanor and engaging delivery. This can help to detach you from the immediate fear response and allow you to focus on the content of your presentation. Conclusion: embracing distance for emotional well-being. Mischel illuminates the power of self-distancing as a vital tool for navigating the inevitable emotional challenges of life. By practicing this technique, individuals can effectively regulate their responses to painful experiences, mitigating the negative impacts of rumination and promoting a more balanced and insightful approach to emotional processing. Self-distancing empowers us to find solace and clarity amidst emotional turmoil, fostering resilience, growth, and a greater sense of control over our emotional well-being. Chapter 12. Cooling painful emotions. Cooling the heat, navigating rejection sensitivity and self-control. Mischel explores how self-control can protect individuals from the destructive effects of emotional vulnerabilities, particularly rejection sensitivity, RS. This chapter builds upon the book's core theme of balancing the hot and cool systems in the brain, highlighting the importance of regulating emotional responses to navigate challenging experiences. The problem, the sting of rejection sensitivity. The chapter focuses on rejection sensitivity, a personality trait characterized by a heightened fear of and overreaction to perceived rejection. Individuals with high RS are acutely attuned to social cues that might signal disapproval or rejection, and they tend to interpret ambiguous situations in the most negative light possible. This hypersensitivity to rejection can have a profound impact on their relationships, leading to self-sabotaging behaviors and a cycle of anxiety, anger, and hurt feelings. Mischel illustrates the challenges of RS through the experiences of individuals like Bill, whose high rejection sensitivity manifested as explosive anger when he perceived his wife as being emotionally distant or uninterested in him. Mischel explained that high RS individuals are more likely to experience conflict in their relationships, often reacting with hostility and aggression, even when the perceived rejection is minor or unintentional. This pattern of behavior can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, as their intense reactions ultimately push others away, confirming their fears of rejection and perpetuating the cycle of pain. The solution: harnessing self-control to mitigate RS. The chapter emphasizes that while high RS individuals may be predisposed to emotional overreactions, they can learn to manage their responses and mitigate the negative consequences of their sensitivity. The key lies in developing and strengthening self-control abilities, specifically those that enable them to cool their hot system's impulsive reactions and activate their cool system's more reflective and adaptive responses. Mischel suggests several strategies for enhancing self-control and navigating the challenges of rejection sensitivity. 1. Developing if-then implementation plans. As discussed in earlier chapters, if-then plans create pre-programmed responses to specific triggers, helping individuals automatically activate desired behaviors when faced with challenging situations. For high RS individuals, this could involve creating plans that link their hot triggers, e.g., perceiving a partner's disinterest, to specific cooling strategies, e.g., taking a deep breath, counting backward, engaging in a distracting activity. 2. Practicing self-distancing. The chapter highlights the power of self-distancing, as explored in Chapter 11, as a tool for regulating emotional responses to perceived rejection. By adopting a fly-on-the-wall perspective and analyzing the situation from a detached viewpoint, individuals can lessen the emotional intensity of their reactions and gain a more balanced understanding of the situation. 3. Engaging in cognitive reappraisal. Self-distancing facilitates cognitive reappraisal, a process of reinterpreting the experience in a more constructive light. High RS individuals can learn to challenge their negative interpretations of social cues, considering alternative explanations for the behavior and focusing on less threatening aspects of the situation. 4. Cultivating optimism. Mischel emphasized the importance of optimism as a protective factor against the negative effects of RS. Optimists tend to focus on the positive aspects of situations, interpreting setbacks as temporary and external rather than personal and permanent. 5. Seeking professional support. Cognitive behavior therapy can be highly effective in helping individuals with high RS develop self-control strategies and challenge their negative thought patterns. Therapists can guide clients in recognizing their triggers, practicing self-distancing and reappraisal techniques, and developing healthier coping mechanisms for managing their emotional responses. Applying self-control strategies. 5 examples. 1. A friend cancels plans at the last minute. Instead of immediately assuming they don't want to spend time with you, consider alternative explanations, e.g., they might be sick or have a work emergency. Practice self-distancing by visualizing the situation from their perspective and acknowledging that their decision might not be personal. 2. You receive critical feedback on a work project. Rather than feeling devastated and incompetent, try to reappraise the feedback as an opportunity for growth and improvement. Focus on the specific suggestions for enhancement and develop an action plan for addressing the concerns. 3. Your romantic partner seems distant and withdrawn. Before jumping to conclusions about the state of the relationship, practice self-control by engaging in a distracting activity or using an if-then plan that triggers a calming strategy, e.g., taking a walk, listening to music. Once you've cooled down, you can approach the situation with a more rational and less reactive mindset. 4. You're excluded from a social gathering. Instead of feeling rejected and hurt, consider alternative explanations for your exclusion, e.g., maybe the group was already full or there was a miscommunication. Focus on your other social connections and plan an enjoyable activity with people who value your company. 5. you're passed over for a promotion. Rather than feeling like a failure, try to reappraise the situation as an opportunity to assess your career goals and explore alternative paths that align with your skills and interests. Use this experience as motivation to develop new skills or seek out new opportunities. Conclusion: empowering resilience through self-control. Mischel highlights the interplay between emotional vulnerabilities like rejection sensitivity and the power of self-control. By developing and strengthening self-control abilities, individuals can learn to navigate the challenges of RS, mitigate their impulsive reactions, and foster healthier and more fulfilling relationships. This chapter underscores the importance of cultivating emotional regulation skills as a foundation for resilience, well-being, and a greater sense of personal empowerment. Chapter 13. The Psychological Immune System. The psychological immune system, a double-edged sword. Mischel explores the intricate workings of our minds in protecting our self-regard and emotional well-being. This chapter introduces the concept of the psychological immune system, a set of cognitive and emotional mechanisms that buffer us from the adverse effects of stress, trauma, and self-control failures. This system helps us maintain a positive self-image, reduces stress levels, and promotes optimism, ultimately contributing to better mental and physical health. The problem: navigating between self-enhancement and realism. Mischel highlight the paradoxical nature of the psychological immune system. While it serves as a crucial defense mechanism against emotional distress, its tendency towards self-enhancement can also lead to distorted perceptions and unrealistic optimism. This can result in poor decision-making, excessive risk-taking, and an inability to learn from mistakes. Mischel illustrates this duality through the example of individuals who attribute their failures to external factors while taking full credit for their successes. This self-serving bias, while protecting self-esteem, can hinder personal growth and prevent us from acknowledging our own shortcomings. The solution: balancing self-protection with realistic self-appraisal. The chapter emphasizes the importance of striking a balance between the protective benefits of the psychological immune system and the need for a realistic assessment of ourselves and our circumstances. This balance requires engaging the cool system to monitor and regulate the distortions generated by the psychological immune system's rose-colored glasses. Mischel suggests several strategies for achieving this balance. 1. Mindfulness and self-awareness. Cultivating mindfulness, a state of non-judgmental awareness of our thoughts and feelings, can help us recognize the workings of our psychological immune system and become more attuned to our own biases and defense mechanisms. 2. Seeking objective feedback. Actively seeking feedback from trusted sources, such as friends, family members, or mentors, can provide a more balanced perspective on our strengths and weaknesses. This external input can help counter the self-serving bias and promote a more accurate self-appraisal. 3. Cognitive restructuring. Cognitive restructuring techniques, commonly used in cognitive behavior therapy, involve identifying and challenging negative or distorted thought patterns. By replacing these thoughts with more balanced and realistic ones, individuals can mitigate the excesses of self-enhancement and develop a more accurate self-perception. 4. Gratitude practice. Cultivating gratitude, a state of appreciation for the positive aspects of our lives, can help counter the negativity bias that often accompanies self-criticism. Focusing on the good things in our lives can foster a more balanced and realistic perspective on our overall well-being. 5. Acceptance and self-compassion. Embracing acceptance, acknowledging our imperfections and limitations without judgment, and practicing self-compassion, treating ourselves with kindness and understanding, can help us navigate the challenges of self-evaluation without resorting to excessive self-enhancement or harsh self-criticism. Applying the concept of the psychological immune system, 5 examples. 1. Job loss. Instead of blaming external factors, e.g., the economy, a difficult boss, for a job loss, engage in realistic self-appraisal to identify areas for improvement and develop a plan for securing new employment. 2. Relationship breakup. Rather than attributing the end of a relationship solely to your partner's faults, reflect on your own contributions to the relationship's demise and identify patterns of behavior that you might want to change in future relationships. 3. Academic failure. Instead of dismissing a poor grade as the result of an unfair test or a biased instructor, acknowledge the need for improvement in your study habits or seek additional support to address academic challenges. 4. Health diagnosis. While maintaining a positive outlook is crucial for coping with a health diagnosis, avoid denying the seriousness of the condition or dismissing medical advice. Seek reliable information, engage in healthy coping mechanisms, and make informed decisions about treatment options. 5. Financial setback. Rather than attributing a financial setback solely to external forces, e.g., a volatile market, analyze your spending habits, identify areas for improvement, and develop a plan for managing finances more effectively. Conclusion. Embracing the complexity of self-protection. Mischel illuminates the complexities of the psychological immune system, a system that both protects and potentially distorts our self-perception. By understanding its workings and adopting strategies for balancing self-enhancement with realism, we can harness its strengths while mitigating its potential downsides. This chapter encourages us to embrace a more nuanced understanding of self-protection, recognizing the importance of both self-compassion and an honest assessment of ourselves and our place in the world. Chapter 14. When smart people act stupid. The downfall of smart people, when hot systems override cool systems. Mischel examines the perplexing phenomenon of intelligent individuals making seemingly irrational and self-destructive decisions. This chapter explores the interplay between the hot and cool systems in the brain, explaining how even the brightest minds can succumb to temptation and make choices that contradict their long-term goals and values. The problem, the allure of immediate gratification. Mischel emphasized the inherent conflict between the hot and cool systems in the brain. The hot system, driven by emotions and immediate gratification, often overrides the cool system, responsible for rational decision-making and long-term planning. This dominance of the hot system can lead smart people astray, causing them to prioritize short-term pleasures over delayed consequences, even when fully aware of the potential risks. This susceptibility to impulsive behavior is often exacerbated by the illusion of control, a cognitive bias that leads individuals to overestimate their ability to manage situations and outcomes. This exaggerated sense of control can make people, particularly those with strong self-control skills, more vulnerable to risky behavior, believing they can avoid negative consequences. Mischel provides several examples of smart people falling prey to the allure of immediate gratification. 1. Celebrity scandals. Public figures, known for their intelligence and accomplishments, often engage in risky behaviors that jeopardize their careers and reputations. The temptation of an affair or the thrill of illicit activities can override their better judgment, leading to devastating consequences. 2. Financial mishaps. Intelligent investors and financial experts can make disastrous decisions driven by overconfidence and the illusion of control. They may disregard warning signs, underestimate risks, and continue to invest even in the face of mounting losses. 3. Health risks. Smart people may engage in unhealthy behaviors, such as smoking or overeating, despite knowing the long-term health risks. The immediate pleasure or comfort derived from these activities can override their understanding of the potential consequences. The solution: harnessing the power of the cool system. The chapter highlights the importance of engaging the cool system to counter the impulsive urges of the hot system. This involves developing strategies to cool the allure of immediate rewards and heat the significance of future consequences. Mischel suggests several practices for achieving this. 1. Cognitive reappraisal. This involves reinterpreting the meaning of a situation or event to change its emotional impact. For example, instead of focusing on the immediate pleasure of a cigarette, a smoker could reframe their thinking to emphasize the long-term health benefits of quitting. 2. Psychological distancing. This involves taking a step back from a situation and viewing it from a more objective perspective. This detachment can help reduce emotional reactivity and promote more rational decision-making. For example, a person struggling with a relationship conflict could try to see the situation from an outsider's perspective, reducing the intensity of their emotional response. 3. If-then implementation plans. These plans involve creating specific, predetermined responses to anticipated triggers. This strategy helps automate self-control, making it more likely that individuals will engage in desired behaviors when faced with temptation. For example, a person trying to eat healthier could create an if-then plan stating, "If I am offered dessert, then I will politely decline and choose fruit instead." Applying the principles, 5 examples. 1. Resisting impulsive purchases. When tempted by an unnecessary purchase, pause and consider the long-term financial implications. Envision your future financial goals and remind yourself that the immediate gratification of the purchase pales in comparison to achieving financial stability. 2. Managing anger and conflicts. When feeling angry during an argument, take a moment to self-distance. Step back from the heated exchange, take deep breaths, and try to view the situation from a more detached perspective, allowing your cool system to regain control. 3. Sticking to a fitness routine. When struggling to maintain a fitness routine, create an if-then plan to automate your workout schedule. For example, if it is 7 a.m., then I will go for a run. This pre-commitment strategy helps bypass the temptation to skip exercise. 4. Avoiding procrastination. When tempted to procrastinate on a task, reframe your thinking to focus on the sense of accomplishment and relief you will feel upon completing it. Break the task into smaller, manageable steps to make it seem less daunting and more achievable. 5. Resisting unhealthy food choices. When faced with unhealthy food options, visualize the long-term health consequences. Remind yourself of your desire to maintain a healthy weight and make a conscious choice to select a nutritious alternative. Conclusion: navigating the tug-of-war within. Mischel sheds light on the inner battle between our impulsive desires and our capacity for rational decision-making. Even the most intelligent individuals can stumble when the hot system takes over. By understanding the interplay between these systems and employing strategies to engage the cool system, we can make choices that align with our long-term goals and avoid the pitfalls of impulsive behavior. This chapter reminds us that true intelligence lies not only in intellectual capacity but also in the ability to harness our willpower and make choices that lead to a fulfilling and meaningful life. Chapter 15. If-then signatures of personality. The behavioral signatures of personality, moving beyond broad traits. Mischel explores the concept of if-then behavioral signatures of personality, challenging the traditional view of personality traits as stable and consistent across all situations. The chapter argues that our behavior is not solely determined by broad personality traits but is heavily influenced by the specific context in which we find ourselves. The problem: the illusion of cross-situational consistency. Mischel explained that traditional personality psychology often assumes that individuals exhibit a high degree of cross-situational consistency. For example, if someone is labeled as highly conscientious, they are expected to demonstrate conscientious behavior across a wide range of situations, from completing homework assignments and keeping their room tidy to being punctual for appointments and adhering to deadlines at work. However, the chapter argues that this assumption of cross-situational consistency is often an illusion. While personality traits do play a role in shaping our behavior, our actions are also significantly influenced by our interpretation of the situation, our goals and expectations, our past experiences, and the emotional responses triggered by the specific context. The solution: recognizing situation-specific patterns. The chapter proposes that instead of focusing on broad personality traits, it is more helpful to understand an individual's behavioral signature, the unique and stable pattern of if-then relationships between specific situations and their corresponding behaviors. This means that even a person generally considered aggressive may only exhibit aggressive behavior in a particular subset of situations that trigger their hot spots, while remaining calm and composed in other contexts. Mischel illustrates this concept through the example of a research study conducted at Wetico, a summer residential treatment camp for children with social adjustment problems. Researchers observed the children's behavior across 5 different types of social situations, both positive and negative. The study found that, contrary to the expectation of cross-situational consistency, children's behavior varied significantly depending on the specific situation they were in. The power of self-monitoring and if-then plans. Recognizing our own if-then behavioral signatures can be a powerful tool for enhancing self-control and achieving our goals. By understanding the specific situations that trigger our undesirable behaviors, we can develop targeted strategies to manage these hot spots more effectively. Mischel suggests using self-monitoring techniques, such as keeping a journal to track situations where we lose control, to identify our personal hot spots. Once these triggers are identified, we can develop and practice if-then implementation plans to modify our responses to these situations. Applying the concept, 5 examples. 1. Public speaking anxiety. If you experience anxiety when speaking in public, identify the specific aspects of the situation that trigger your anxiety. Is it the size of the audience, the formality of the setting, or the content of your speech? Once you have pinpointed your hot spots, you can develop and rehearse if-then plans to manage your anxiety. For example, if I start to feel anxious, then I will take 3 deep breaths and focus on my prepared notes. 2. Procrastination. If you tend to procrastinate on certain types of tasks, determine the specific situational factors that contribute to your procrastination. Is it the perceived difficulty of the task, the lack of immediate deadlines, or the presence of distractions? Create if-then plans to overcome these triggers. For example, if I feel tempted to put off this task, then I will break it down into smaller, more manageable steps and set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work. 3. Emotional eating. If you find yourself turning to food for comfort in certain situations, identify the emotional triggers that lead to this behavior. Is it stress, boredom, loneliness, or sadness? Develop if-then plans to manage these emotions in healthier ways. For example, if I feel the urge to eat when I'm stressed, then I will call a friend to talk, go for a walk, or engage in a relaxing activity. 4. Road rage. If you experience anger and frustration while driving, identify the specific situations that trigger your road rage. Is it heavy traffic, aggressive drivers, or unexpected delays? Create if-then plans to manage your anger in a more constructive manner. For example, if I find myself getting angry while driving, then I will turn on calming music, practice deep breathing exercises, and remind myself that getting upset won't solve the traffic situation. 5. Social anxiety. If you experience anxiety in social situations, pinpoint the specific aspects that trigger your discomfort. Is it large gatherings, meeting new people, or engaging in conversations with unfamiliar topics? Develop if-then plans to navigate these situations more comfortably. For example, if I feel anxious when meeting new people, then I will focus on finding common interests, asking open-ended questions, and actively listening to their responses. Conclusion: embracing the complexity of personality. Mischel challenges the simplistic view of personality as consisting of fixed traits that dictate our behavior across all situations. The chapter advocates for a more nuanced understanding of personality, recognizing the interplay between our dispositions and the specific contexts in which we operate. By understanding our own if-then behavioral signatures and leveraging the power of if-then plans, we can gain greater control over our actions and make choices that align with our goals and values. This approach allows us to embrace the complexity of human personality while empowering us to become more intentional and effective in navigating the diverse situations we encounter throughout our lives. Chapter 16. The Paralyzed Will. When willpower fails, understanding the paralyzed will. Mischel explores the perplexing phenomenon of willpower failure, even in individuals who typically possess strong self-control. The chapter highlights that while we may have the cognitive skills and the motivation to exert self-control, there are certain situations where our willpower seems to completely break down, leaving us feeling helpless and defeated. The problem: the power of automatic associations. Mischel described the problem of the paralyzed will, using John Cheever's short story, The Angel of the Bridge, as an illustration. The story's protagonist, a successful businessman, referred to as Bridgman, experiences a sudden panic attack while crossing the George Washington Bridge during a violent thunderstorm. He becomes terrified that the bridge will collapse, and although he manages to make it home safely, he develops an incapacitating fear of bridges, which severely disrupts his life and work. Bridgman's case, as explained in Mischel, demonstrates how a traumatic experience can create strong, automatic associations in the brain's hot system, specifically within the amygdala, which processes fear and emotional responses. These associations link a neutral stimulus, e.g., bridges, with an intense emotional reaction, e.g., fear, even though the stimulus was not inherently fear-inducing before the traumatic event. The problem arises because these associations are activated automatically and unconsciously, bypassing the cool system, which is responsible for rational thought and deliberate decision-making. Even though Bridgman knows rationally that bridges are safe and his fear is irrational, his hot system's automatic fear response takes over, leaving his willpower paralyzed. The solution: rewiring fearful associations through desensitization. Mischel suggests that overcoming the paralyzed will requires rewiring these automatic fear-producing associations. While this process can be challenging, the chapter highlights the effectiveness of desensitization techniques, which involve gradually exposing the individual to the feared stimulus in a safe and controlled environment. Mischel provides an example of how a friend could help Bridgman overcome his fear of bridges. The friend could start by driving Bridgman over very short bridges close to the ground, gradually increasing the height and length of the bridges as Bridgman's anxiety diminishes. This step-by-step desensitization process allows the hot system to gradually disassociate bridges from fear and reconnect them with a sense of safety and control. Cognitive behavior therapy, a guiding hand for change. Mischel also acknowledged the role of cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, in helping individuals overcome the paralyzed will. CBT therapists recognize that self-distancing, or stepping back from our immediate emotional reactions, is crucial for therapeutic change. They guide clients to recognize that their thoughts and perceptions are not absolute truths but rather interpretations of reality. This allows clients to explore alternative ways of thinking about their experiences, reducing emotional distress and promoting more adaptive coping strategies. 5 examples of applying desensitization to overcome fear and anxiety. 1. Fear of flying. For someone with a fear of flying, desensitization could involve gradual exposure to flying-related stimuli, starting with watching videos of planes taking off and landing, then progressing to visiting an airport and observing planes up close, and eventually taking short flights accompanied by a supportive friend or therapist. 2. Arachnophobia. Fear of spiders. A person with arachnophobia could begin by looking at pictures of spiders from a distance, then gradually move closer to the images. As their anxiety decreases, they could progress to watching videos of spiders, and eventually, with the guidance of a therapist, work towards being in the presence of a real spider, starting with a small, harmless one. 3. Social anxiety. For an individual with social anxiety, desensitization could involve starting with social interactions in low-pressure environments, such as joining a small online group with shared interests. As their comfort level increases, they could progress to attending social gatherings with a trusted friend, gradually expanding their social circle and engaging in more challenging social situations. 4. Agoraphobia. Fear of open or public spaces. A person with agoraphobia could start by practicing relaxation techniques at home, then gradually venturing out to familiar, safe locations for short periods, slowly increasing the distance and duration of their outings as their anxiety subsides. 5. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. For someone with PTSD triggered by a specific event or location, desensitization could involve gradually revisiting memories or aspects of the traumatic experience in a controlled therapeutic setting. This process, guided by a trained therapist, allows the individual to process the trauma and reduce the intensity of their emotional reactions over time. Conclusion: reclaiming control from the paralyzed will. Mischel highlight that while the paralyzed will can be a significant obstacle to self-control, it is not insurmountable. Understanding the role of automatic associations, leveraging the power of desensitization techniques, and seeking guidance from cognitive behavior therapy can empower individuals to reclaim control, overcome their fears, and navigate challenging situations with greater resilience. It's important to note that overcoming deep-seated fears and anxieties often requires professional guidance and support. The examples provided are for illustrative purposes and should not be interpreted as a substitute for professional advice. Chapter 17. Will fatigue. A deeper look at will fatigue. Is willpower a finite resource? Mischel explores the concept of willpower depletion, a popular theory suggesting that our capacity for self-control is a limited resource that can be temporarily exhausted through overuse. This chapter challenges that traditional notion and examines the complexities of willpower, highlighting alternative explanations for why we sometimes struggle with self-regulation. The strength model of self-control, a limited resource? Mischel presents the strength model of self-control, a prominent theory championed by Roy Baumeister and his colleagues. This model, as described in Mischel, posits that willpower operates like a muscle, drawing upon a finite energy reserve. When we exert self-control, this energy reserve is gradually depleted, leading to ego depletion, a state of reduced willpower and diminished ability to resist temptations or maintain effortful control. This model, Mischel explained, implies that engaging in one act of self-control can temporarily weaken our resolve in subsequent, unrelated tasks that also demand willpower. This effect, Mischel claims, has been demonstrated in numerous experiments, including the classic radish experiment. In this study, hungry college students who were forced to resist tempting cookies and eat radishes instead subsequently gave up more quickly on a challenging problem-solving task compared to students who were allowed to indulge in the treats. Challenging the depletion theory, motivation and attention. Mischel acknowledged that while studies have shown a reduction in subsequent effort following acts of self-control, later research suggests that these findings might be due to factors other than resource depletion. As Mischel explained, these alternative explanations focus on shifts in motivation and attention, rather than a literal depletion of willpower energy. Mischel pointed out that as the demands for self-control and tedious work increase, especially without corresponding increases in incentives or rewards, individuals' attention and motivation may naturally wane. In other words, Mischel argued, people might become demotivated or bored rather than genuinely experiencing willpower depletion. Mischel provided an example of a task where students were asked to cross out every E in a text, followed by a more complex rule of not crossing out an E if it was followed by a vowel. This monotonous and cognitively taxing task likely led to reduced effort not because of depleted willpower, but because of decreased motivation to persist. Mind over muscle, the power of belief. Mischel further challenged the depletion model by highlighting the significant influence of beliefs on self-control. Research has shown, as explained in Mischel, that individuals who believe that willpower is a non-limited resource tend to perform better on tasks requiring self-regulation, even after engaging in demanding activities. In contrast, those who hold a limited resource belief often show diminished self-control and struggle to maintain effort, particularly in stressful situations. Mischel describes studies by Carol Dweck and her colleagues at Stanford University, which demonstrate that individuals who believe their mental stamina is self-replenishing do not experience significant willpower depletion after challenging tasks. Conversely, those who view willpower as a limited resource tend to show decreased self-control following strenuous mental exertion. These findings suggest that our mindset about willpower plays a crucial role in our ability to sustain effortful control. The role of motivation and effort, beyond the lab. To move beyond laboratory settings, Mischel explored real-world examples of individuals who consistently exhibit remarkable self-control under extreme conditions, such as the United States Navy SEALs. The rigorous training and demanding missions of these elite forces require exceptional levels of physical and mental endurance, seemingly defying the notion of will fatigue. Mark Owen's, a pseudonym, autobiography about the raid that killed Osama bin Laden, as discussed in Mischel, provides insight into the motivations and training that enable SEALs to push beyond perceived limitations. Their unwavering commitment to their mission, strong team cohesion, and belief in their capabilities fuel their relentless drive and extraordinary self-discipline. These examples underscore the importance of psychological factors, such as purpose, values, and social support, in sustaining self-control over extended periods. 5 examples of overcoming will fatigue in everyday life. 1. Sticking to a diet. Instead of focusing solely on restrictive eating, incorporate enjoyable physical activities and create a supportive social network that encourages healthy habits. This approach shifts the focus from deprivation to positive engagement, boosting motivation and reducing the perceived burden of self-control. 2. Maintaining a regular exercise routine, set realistic goals, choose activities that are genuinely enjoyable, and find an exercise buddy to enhance accountability and social support. By making exercise a rewarding and socially engaging experience, it becomes less of a willpower challenge and more of a positive lifestyle choice. 3. Managing work-life balance, clearly define work hours and personal time, create dedicated spaces for each activity, and communicate boundaries to colleagues and family members. These strategies help to reduce the cognitive strain of constantly switching between roles, enhancing focus and reducing the risk of feeling overwhelmed. 4. Breaking a bad habit, identify specific triggers that lead to the undesired behavior and develop alternative, positive responses to those triggers. For example, if stress triggers unhealthy snacking, practice relaxation techniques or engage in a brief physical activity when feeling stressed. This preemptive approach helps to break the automatic association between the trigger and the negative behavior. 5. Improving financial discipline, automate savings contributions, create a visual budget tracker to monitor spending patterns, and seek guidance from a financial advisor to establish clear financial goals. These strategies reduce the reliance on willpower for daily financial decisions, making responsible financial management more automatic and less mentally taxing. Conclusion: willpower is more than just muscle. Mischel present a nuanced view of willpower, challenging the simplistic notion of a finite energy reserve. While acknowledging that excessive demands on self-control can lead to temporary reductions in effort, Mischel emphasized the importance of motivation, attention, beliefs, and social support in sustaining self-regulation. By understanding these factors, we can develop strategies to enhance our willpower, resist temptations more effectively, and achieve our goals with greater consistency. Part 3 from Lab to Life. Chapter 18. Marshmallows and Public Policy. Investing in Self-Control, Marshmallows and Public Policy. Mischel shifts the focus from individual strategies for self-control to the broader societal implications of this crucial skill. This chapter explores how the research on self-control, particularly the findings from the Marshmallow Test, can inform public policy and educational interventions, especially for children living in disadvantaged communities. The problem: toxic stress and the achievement gap. The chapter begins by highlighting the stark contrast between the privileged environment of Stanford University, where the initial Marshmallow Test was conducted, and the harsh realities faced by children growing up in poverty. Mischel described the challenging conditions of a public middle school in the South Bronx, New York City, where classrooms were dilapidated and students often lacked basic resources. This disparity, Mischel argued, reflects a broader societal issue: the achievement gap between children from affluent backgrounds and those living in poverty. One significant factor contributing to this gap, Mischel explained, is toxic stress. Children experiencing chronic poverty often face a multitude of stressors, including exposure to violence, unstable housing, and food insecurity. This prolonged exposure to stress, Mischel warned, can have detrimental effects on brain development, particularly in the prefrontal cortex, PFC, the area responsible for executive function, including self-control. Mischel cited the National Scientific Council on the Developing Child, a group of prominent scientists who have extensively studied the impact of toxic stress on children. This council, Mischel explained, has reached a consensus: strong executive function, particularly self-control, is crucial for children to thrive and reach their full potential. However, Mischel pointed out that the Council's recommendations for policy changes often remain largely unheeded, despite the growing evidence supporting their importance. The solution: fostering executive function through early intervention. Mischel advocated for increased investment in early childhood education programs that specifically target the development of executive function skills, including self-control. Drawing on the principles of brain plasticity, the chapter emphasizes that the PFC, while vulnerable to toxic stress, is also highly malleable, particularly during early childhood. This means, Mischel explained, that early interventions can effectively strengthen executive function skills, providing children with a foundation for success in school and beyond. Mischel cited research demonstrating the effectiveness of various interventions, including those that 1. Promote mindfulness and emotional regulation. These programs teach children strategies for recognizing and managing their emotions, helping them to cool down their hot system impulses and respond more thoughtfully to challenging situations. 2. Enhance working memory and attention control. Activities that challenge children to hold information in mind and focus their attention, such as puzzles, games, and structured learning activities, can strengthen the neural pathways underlying these essential cognitive skills. 3. Foster problem-solving and planning. Programs that encourage children to think ahead, anticipate consequences, and develop strategies for achieving goals can boost their ability to resist immediate gratification and make decisions that support their long-term well-being. Beyond the classroom, creating supportive environments. Mischel emphasized that promoting self-control requires a holistic approach that extends beyond the classroom walls. This includes creating supportive environments that mitigate the impact of toxic stress and foster the development of self-regulation skills. Mischel points to several key areas for intervention, including 1. Reducing poverty. Addressing the root causes of poverty through economic policies that promote opportunity and financial stability can alleviate the chronic stress that undermines self-control development in children. 2. Improving access to quality healthcare. Providing access to physical and mental healthcare services, particularly for pregnant women and young children, can mitigate the negative effects of stress and promote healthy brain development. 3. Strengthening families and communities. Supporting parents through parenting education programs, home visiting initiatives, and community-based resources can help families create nurturing environments that foster children's social-emotional development and self-regulation skills. 5 examples of applying Marshmallow Test findings to public policy. 1. Investing in high-quality early childhood education. Funding preschool programs that incorporate evidence-based practices for enhancing executive function skills can provide children, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds, with a strong foundation for academic and social-emotional success. 2. Implementing universal pre-K. Expanding access to high-quality preschool programs for all children, regardless of their socioeconomic background, can help level the playing field and reduce the achievement gap associated with early learning disparities. 3. Integrating social-emotional learning into school curricula. Incorporating explicit instruction on self-regulation, emotional awareness, and social skills into the school curriculum can equip children with the tools they need to manage their emotions, build healthy relationships, and make responsible decisions. 4. Training teachers in trauma-informed practices. Providing professional development opportunities for teachers to understand the impact of trauma on children's behavior and learning can help create more supportive and responsive classroom environments that foster self-regulation. 5. Expanding access to mental health services in schools. Providing mental health professionals in schools, particularly in high-needs communities, can address the social-emotional challenges that often impede academic progress and provide early intervention for children struggling with self-regulation. Conclusion: a call for action. Mischel concludes with a call for action, urging policymakers, educators, and the public to prioritize investments in early childhood programs that nurture self-control and executive function skills. By addressing the root causes of toxic stress and creating supportive environments that foster self-regulation, societies can equip all children with the skills they need to thrive, breaking the cycle of disadvantage and fostering a more equitable and just future. Chapter 19. Applying core strategies. Mastering self-control, applying core strategies in everyday life. Mischel offers a practical guide for harnessing the power of self-control in everyday life. Building upon the research discussed throughout the book, this chapter distills key concepts and strategies into actionable steps that individuals can use to navigate temptations, manage emotions, and achieve their goals. The problem: the tyranny of the hot system. The central challenge to self-control, Mischel explained, stems from the inherent bias of the hot system. This emotionally driven system, anchored in the brain's amygdala, prioritizes immediate gratification and reacts impulsively to temptations. This system served us well in our evolutionary past, prompting us to seize immediate rewards and avoid immediate threats. However, in our modern world, where long-term goals often require resisting immediate pleasures, the hot system can lead us astray. Mischel illustrates this dilemma using a simple mathematical model of future discounting. This model demonstrates how our brains tend to devalue delayed rewards, making it difficult to resist the allure of immediate gratification, even when we know that waiting would ultimately yield a more desirable outcome. The solution: cooling the now and heating the later. The fundamental principle for mastering self-control, Mischel emphasizes, involves shifting this balance of power by cooling the now and heating the later. This entails diminishing the immediate appeal of temptations while amplifying the desirability of future rewards. Mischel provides a range of strategies for achieving this shift, drawing upon the research on cognitive reappraisal, psychological distancing, and the power of if-then implementation plans. These strategies aim to engage the cool system, the more reflective and rational system associated with the prefrontal cortex, enabling us to make choices that align with our long-term goals and values. Core strategies for mastering self-control. 1. Cognitive reappraisal. This strategy involves changing how we think about temptations and their consequences, reframing them in ways that diminish their allure. For example, instead of focusing on the immediate pleasure of a sugary snack, we might remind ourselves of its negative health consequences. 2. Psychological distancing. This technique involves stepping back from our immediate emotional experience, viewing the situation as an observer rather than an immersed participant. Mischel cites research demonstrating the benefits of adopting a fly-on-the-wall perspective, which can reduce emotional reactivity and promote more thoughtful decision-making, especially when dealing with painful emotions or conflicts. 3. If-then implementation plans. These plans create a predetermined course of action that automatically triggers the desired response when a specific cue or situation arises. Mischel described the effectiveness of this strategy in helping children resist distractions, and emphasized that with practice, these plans can become increasingly automatic, taking the effort out of effortful control. 4. Identifying hot spots. The effectiveness of if-then plans hinges on pinpointing the specific cues or situations that trigger impulsive reactions. Mischel recommends self-monitoring through journaling or tracking devices to identify these hot spots and then develop targeted if-then plans to navigate them. 5. Creating supportive environments. While individual strategies are essential, Mischel acknowledged that self-control thrives in supportive environments. This includes reducing exposure to chronic stress, especially during early childhood, and fostering a sense of autonomy and responsibility by providing children with choices and clear consequences. 5 examples of applying core strategies in everyday life. 1. Resisting unhealthy snacking. Faced with a plate of cookies, you might use cognitive reappraisal to focus on the long-term health benefits of choosing a healthier option. An if-then plan might involve pre-committing to having a piece of fruit if you feel tempted by sweets. 2. Managing anger in a conflict. When feeling overwhelmed by anger in an argument, you might practice psychological distancing by imagining yourself observing the interaction from a neutral perspective. This can help you to detach from the immediate emotional heat and respond more constructively. 3. Overcoming procrastination. To combat procrastination on a challenging task, you might create an if-then plan that links a specific time and place with the initiation of the task. For example, if it is 5 p.m. and I am at my desk, then I will begin working on the report. 4. Navigating social rejection. When feeling hurt by social rejection, you might use cognitive reappraisal to consider alternative explanations for the person's behavior rather than assuming personal fault. You might also use if-then plans to predetermine a self-soothing activity if you encounter a similar situation. 5. Sticking to an exercise routine. To maintain an exercise routine, you might create an if-then plan that links the completion of another activity with going to the gym. For example, if I finish work at 6 p.m., then I will go straight to the gym. Conclusion: building a life of choice and agency. Chapter 19 underscores the empowering message of the Marshmallow Test. Self-control is not a fixed trait, but rather a set of skills that can be learned and strengthened through practice and strategic application. By understanding the interplay of the hot and cool systems, and by implementing the core strategies outlined in this chapter, individuals can cultivate greater agency in their lives, making choices that align with their long-term goals and values. Chapter 20. Human nature. The evolving understanding of human nature, moving beyond determinism. Mischel grapples with a question that has captivated philosophers and scientists for centuries: what shapes who we are? The chapter challenges the traditional view of human nature as fixed and predetermined, presenting instead a more nuanced perspective informed by recent discoveries in neuroscience, genetics, and developmental science. The chapter emphasizes the plasticity of the brain, particularly the areas responsible for executive function and self-control, suggesting that we have a greater capacity for change and growth than previously believed. The problem: the illusion of fixed traits. Mischel point out that Western conceptions of human nature often assume that traits like self-control, intelligence, and willpower are innate and unchangeable, consistently manifesting across different situations and contexts. This view, the chapter argues, is an oversimplification that fails to capture the dynamic interplay between our inherent predispositions and the environments we inhabit. The chapter highlights the limitations of relying solely on broad personality traits to predict behavior, emphasizing that individuals may exhibit varying levels of a particular trait depending on the specific situation. For instance, a person who demonstrates remarkable self-control in their professional life may struggle to resist temptations in their personal life. This inconsistency, Mischel suggests, can be attributed to the interplay between the hot and cool systems, and the influence of contextual factors on motivation and self-control. The solution: embracing the malleability of the brain and the power of choice. The chapter advocates for a more nuanced understanding of human nature, one that recognizes the remarkable plasticity of the brain, even in adulthood. Mischel underscores the capacity for change and growth throughout life, challenging the notion of fixed traits with evidence that interventions, even relatively simple ones, can enhance executive function and self-control. The chapter emphasizes the role of experience in shaping our neural pathways, suggesting that through deliberate practice and the strategic application of self-control strategies, we can cultivate greater agency in our lives. 5 examples of embracing the malleability of human nature. 1. Reframing challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of viewing setbacks as evidence of inherent limitations, individuals can adopt a growth mindset, embracing challenges as opportunities to develop resilience and cultivate new skills. This perspective, Mischel suggests, can foster greater persistence and a greater sense of self-efficacy. 2. Cultivating self-compassion in the face of failure. The chapter encourages recognizing that self-control is not about achieving perfection, but rather about navigating the inevitable challenges and setbacks with self-compassion and understanding. By acknowledging our shared human vulnerability to temptation and acknowledging that occasional lapses in self-control are normal, we can create a more supportive inner environment for growth. 3. Engaging in practices that promote neuroplasticity. Mischel emphasized the capacity for lifelong brain changes through experience and learning. Individuals can engage in activities that support neuroplasticity, such as physical exercise, mindfulness meditation, and learning new skills. These practices can strengthen the neural circuits associated with executive function and self-control, promoting greater resilience and well-being. 4. Seeking support and guidance when needed. The chapter acknowledges that while individuals have a significant role in shaping their own destinies, they are not alone in this endeavor. Seeking support from therapists, coaches, mentors, or supportive communities can provide valuable guidance and encouragement, particularly when facing difficult challenges or setbacks. 5. Creating environments that foster self-control. Mischel emphasized that while individual efforts are essential, self-control thrives in supportive environments. Parents, educators, and policymakers can play a crucial role in creating contexts that nurture self-control, such as providing children with structure and predictability, promoting social-emotional learning, and reducing exposure to toxic stress. Conclusion: the empowering potential of a dynamic view of human nature. Mischel concludes with a message of empowerment and cautious optimism. While acknowledging the enduring influence of genetics, early experiences, and environmental factors, the chapter ultimately emphasizes the human capacity for agency and change. By embracing the malleability of the brain and the power of choice, individuals can actively participate in shaping their own lives, becoming architects of their own destinies rather than passive products of their pasts. The chapter encourages readers to view the research on self-control not as a deterministic blueprint, but rather as a source of insights and strategies that can empower them to live more fulfilling and meaningful lives. Thank you for listening. I hope this content is useful to you. If you like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel to support our team.